Hey, what's going on? Welcome back to the channel. Thanks for tuning in. So today I wanted to just kind of give you guys a little update on this low mileage 2003 Cobra. On the last video, I talked about what we were doing with this thing, and we are making good progress. So let me show you here. We got the front half done. For you guys who didn't see the first video, I'll leave a link in the description below on that one. But so this deal, man, this thing is it's under 10,000 original miles. All it had was a catback on it. JLT intake, cold air intake, JLT catch cans, old catch cans on passenger and driver side of the engine. And that was it. Like I say, this thing's brand spanking new. It's a convertible. It's all the right colors, you know, silver, black top, gray and black interior. So we did all Maximum Motorsports. We did front caster camber plates. The springs are H&R springs. Yeah, H&R springs. It's got to drop at about 1.5 inches, a little bit less. Let's see, that's pretty much it. I mean, didn't really do anything else on the front besides the springs, the caster camber plates. I got the car up in the air, so I'm gonna go up here on this ladder so you guys can take a look at the plates. I'm sure you've seen them, but it turned out pretty good. So they, you know, they come with the spacers, depending on if you drop the car, you know, if you lower the car, if you don't lower the car. If you lower the car, you put one thin spacer and 2 thick spacers on the top of the caster camber plate, and then you put one thin spacer underneath the caster camber plate, or I should say the bearing. And of course you do it on both sides, you do the same. So since this car is being lowered, that's basically what we had to do. And as far as the springs go, we got the springs in. It also came with, you're not going to be able to see them, I don't have a flashlight with me here. It actually came with the Maximum Motorsports spring isolators. So these are the back ones, and as you can see, they come with them. Okay, so on the back, you know, we dropped the whole cradle out of the rear, as you can see. We've already got all the bushings out. We've got the new bushings in. These are the subframe to body mount bushings. Got them all cleaned up, got them installed. On these, oh, actually, don't want to forget this. We went with the front diff bushings and the rear diff bushing. Right in there. Polyurethane. Okay, so on the lower control arm mounts, there is a washer that is spot welded on. This washer is spot welded on in 3 locations, 3 spot welds from the factory right there. So on these particular bushings, you have to grind that off, pop that off there, smooth this out really good on both sides. The front did not have one, but it was pretty rough, so we went ahead and smoothed it all out there as well. On both sides, this is just one of the tools that you can use to straighten these out. You know, these do get deformed a little bit from the factory, you know, tighten them down. So you want to make sure that these are perfectly flat and straight on the back and the front lower control arm mounts. Also, the upper control arm mounts, you want to make sure they're nice and straight too. These don't usually get bent too bad, but you still want to check them. So these are the bushings that we replaced and they have shims. So that's why it's really important that these fit flush in the housing there. So what you do is you get these shims here. Now, like I say, these are Maximum Motorsports stuff. So we basically put this whole control arm up in there. So the way you do that is you have to slide this out. You put it up in there and you put the shims in between the control arm and the bushing. So it's sitting down, I can't get it to slide out. But anyway, I'll do it on this one. This one here is not sitting on the ground. So it slides out. Once you put it up into the mount, you slide this out to take all the slack, and then you fill that gap with these bushings. And then you fill that gap with the shims and depending on how many shims you have, you save those for the front and you also save them for the back. And then you take this off, you slide the bushings on, however many that you have in your stack, and then you put it back on. So let's say it has to come out that far. So you fill that gap with the bushings in between. You fill that gap with the shims. I keep saying bushings, what the heck. So you put the shims between the control arm and the bushing, and you do it the same on this side. And then when you put it up in there, they fit nice and snug, and then you tighten the bolt, you torque it down. That's pretty much how they do it. Now, the uppers, they don't have any shims. Here's the uppers. You know, they pretty much go in there just like that. As you can see, you got a thicker sleeve on this side than you do that side. And that's the way you put them in, just like that. It comes with instructions. If you guys, for those of you who haven't done this, if you get the Maximum Motorsports kit, it comes with instructions. I mean, it's a no-brainer, man. You can do this whole job on a weekend. You know, it would definitely be better to have somebody help you, for sure, especially if you don't have a lift. You know, it comes with all the instructions. You can buy the tools to remove them with, and the whole deal. It's a pretty good setup. So anyway, that's pretty much where we're at. I mean, we've got everything, all the bushings are replaced. We're just doing the final fitting. Like I was just saying, we're just doing the final fitting of these lowers. We're going to do a little fitting of the uppers. We'll have to just bend them out just a little bit, not much. And then we're going to put everything back together in the order that we took it apart. Now, the sway bar, we've even got these sway bar polyurethane bushings that we're going to replace these bushings with. And we'll be doing that. And then we also have these end links. These are really cool. Sway bar end links. We're going to be replacing the factory end links with these. And what's nice about them is they're adjustable. So since this is being lowered, you know, you can adjust them to be a little bit, you know, not as long. There's the stock ones. It won't be quite as long. Because if you do lower the car and you don't replace them, they come very, very close to hitting, is what I found. So it's good to replace them. And I mean, that's really about it. So the only other thing that the kit did come with is it did come with new bolts. These are the front bolts for, so this is the front cradle mounting bolts right here. They go right here, and then they would actually go up into where the lower control arm would normally go if it was a straight axle rear end. This is where your lower control arm would be if you didn't have an independent rear suspension. And these are the bolts that go in there. But they go with a little bit larger bolt is what they do. So they're included in the kit because this comes with a new sleeve here. It's a little bit larger. So you want to use that new bolt when you do these. And then the back bolt is the same size as the original, but you can also get these, which is, they call this a low profile bolt. See, it's an Allen head and same size as the factory, and it goes right in there. And the reason it's a low profile is, since it's a low profile, the stock ones have a head on that sticks way out here. And what they found was, a lot of guys that want to run real wide wheels, the tire will come in contact, or the wheel will come in contact with this. So, I mean, it's real close between hitting that and the shock, but this does stick out a little bit further, right? Because normally this bracket is not on here if you have a straight axle. And only on the independent rear suspensions that you have that. So you can buy these bolts here, and it's low profile, gives you a little bit extra room for some wide tires and wheels on there. It's pretty cool. So, but yeah, that is where that bolts to, right there. So let me throw this back in here. We're keeping everything in order so we don't get nothing mixed up. Oh yeah, we also installed the Ford Performance rear diff cover. That's already done, torqued down, everything's good to go on there. You know, obviously, you know, these kind of give you a little bit of support on the main caps for the carrier caps. Once you get it all torqued down, these you want to screw in by hand, and then you torque them 10 to 12 foot-pounds. That's all you do on these. And once you do that, I screw them out all the way as far as I can, and then we put white thread sealer on the threads. We take it in, we torque it to about 10 to 12 foot-pounds, and then this one, this large castle nut, locking nut, actually goes to 25 foot-pounds. And that's pretty much it. I'm sure a lot of you guys have done these covers before. This is no different than a regular straight axle as far as the torques, but they just look different because they got the mount here for the rear diff and stuff. And then, of course, as we go up with it, we're going to be installing these springs. These are the rear springs, and they come with all new isolators too, upper and lower. So evidently, what the difference is, I know that these independent rear suspension Cobras come with different springs than the straight axle. But H&R, they only make one spring. This spring is for Cobra independent rear suspension, as long as you use the Maximum Motorsports upper and lower. Yeah, these are definitely a lot different. You can tell the lower, yeah, these are different than the front ones. They look different. But anyway, I guess it must be something to do with the ride height. You know, you can't put these on an IRS without these, or your ride height won't be right. So anyway, that's what we were told. So we're just gonna do it the way they say to do it, right? But so far it's coming out good. You know, it wasn't too bad of a job. You know, like I say, this was a low mileage car. It wasn't like everything was rusted up and seized up, but it's still time consuming. You know, I've seen guys out there that say, oh, I can, you know, we do it in this amount of time, whatever. You know, I mean, doing certain ones obviously doesn't take as long, but when you're doing all of them, you know, it takes a little bit of time. You want to take your time and do it right. So, but yeah, that's all cool. That's pretty much it. I am going to have a video coming out soon about this deal. This is ready to be assembled. Let me uncover this. So this is, I'll turn the camera around. This is a LS3. This is a brand new block. It's a Chevy Performance LS3 block. This is a stroked setup. It's a 416 cubic inch is what this is. Here's the pistons. We got the pistons, we got the rings. Got the rods. All I gotta do is put the pistons on the rods. Here's the rings over here, actually. Let me get these. I've got the rings all gapped. We gap rings. This setup here is we've got them gapped for a little bit of nitrous in case he wants to throw a little nitrous to it. But yeah, so this is let me tell you a little story about this. Oh, it's probably been a year ago or so. I built this motor for a customer. He's got a 2010. So here's the main caps. Everything's clean, ready to go. The block has been, checked for clearance. It's ready to go. I just got to get this thing put back together now. So, like I say, I built this motor for him, 2010 Camaro SS. He bought the car, brought the motor in. It had a lifter failure. Had I forget what cam, it had another cam in it. Anyway, it was totally messed up. Cylinder walls scarred up, the whole deal. Turned out somebody was running nitrous on it. They ran it lean. The rest is history. So we did a 416 stroker and did the whole deal. Got it together, stock LS3 heads. We did a Brian Tooley stage 4 cam with the correct springs, locks, retainers. We measured for push rod length, got all that done. Trunnion upgrade. Basically brand new motor. The only thing we did was we reused the stock heads, but we had the heads completely redone. They were wore out. The guides were wore out, the whole deal. Already had long tubes on it, exhaust, had a good clutch in it. We have a friend of ours that tunes LS. He tuned it for us, and car made good power. So we were shooting for about 600 flywheel, and this particular build, I think it's a Mustang dyno. I'm not sure, but this particular build, after tuning it on 93 octane, this one came in at about 11.5 to 1 compression. So he ended up backing a timing back about 2 degrees from what maximum total would be on an 11 to 1 motor, or 10.5 to 1 motor. And it made, on his dyno, it made like 487 to the wheels. The torque numbers were way up there. But with his dyno reads really low, he says this thing probably made somewhere around 535, 540 wheel, which would put it right about that high 500, 600 flywheel mark. That's what we were shooting for. And car ran good. I mean, he put his drag pack on it. He put his skinnies on the front, slicks on the back. This car went 1060s at 126 miles an hour. Stick shift, the 60 foot wasn't all that great. Wasn't too bad, but it wasn't that great. And that's a heavy car. Like, that thing's heavy. It's full interior, the whole deal. So I was really surprised it run 1060s at 126, normally aspirated. So that just goes to show you what these, LS3s could do, man. 400 cubic inch motors. So anyway, he put an aftermarket, he broke the drive shaft. Before that outing, he went out a time before that, broke the drive shaft. Ended up putting a drive shaft in there. Got rid of the rubber, what do you call them? Rubber isolators that separate the drive shaft from the rear end and tranny. And he put some billet aluminum ones in there. I'm not sure who he got them from. And that was not good because the bolts, I think, loosened up is what happened. When he was at the track, I guess he didn't feel the vibration until it happened. but he went into third gear and it blew the transmission apart. Turns out it bent the rear output shaft. I'm sorry. The rear output shaft was bent from the bolts loosening up on the drive shaft to the transmission. And it shook it so violently that it broke the bell housing in 3 or 4 different places. Just busted it apart. I've got the old transmission out in the trailer. So when it broke the bell housing, it cracked the back of the block. Like it broke the block, because these are aluminum. It broke these ears clean off. It didn't damage anything internally, but it just broke the back of the block and cracked it. And oil came out of the block and everything, because it just destroyed the block. And he shut it down right away. Very lucky he didn't damage this rotating assembly. So we bought a brand new Chevy Performance LS3 block. We had it bored out just a little bit. We had it, we went ahead and had to get new pistons. 3 of the pistons were a little bit scarred, we think, from the vibration. So I went ahead and got all new pistons. We had it rebalanced, new pistons, new rings, we had the crankshaft polished. So we got new bearings, and it's going back together. So it's basically going to still be a 416, with just a new block. It's not going to make any more power. It's going to be all the same tune, same cam. It's got short travel lifters. Like here's all his stuff here. We got stuff back there too. We kind of keep everything organized here depending on which builds. Just like up there, we've got a build that's coming in next. It's a Mercury Zephyr, and that's all the parts for his build. We're doing a bunch of stuff to that one. But yeah, so we'll have some more video of this one going together, because we need to get this thing together and get the car in here and get it going for him. But originally, like once this all happened, he was thinking, oh man, I'm gonna do it up. I'm gonna put some badass heads on it, and just make a lot of power or whatever. And then, by the time he spent all this money and had to get another transmission, he had to get a whole nother transmission, the whole deal. So he ended up we're just putting it back the way it was, because it did run good. It was a good running car. But so that's pretty much the deal on that. And we'll have a video on that coming up. But I'm gonna have a video on that Mercury Zephyr. We also have another LS rotating assembly in the office in there. Actually, the guy that actually works here with me, it's his car. He's got a C6 Vet 6.0, and we're doing a 408 stroker on that one. Big money on that deal. That whole rotating assembly will handle well over 1,500 horsepower. He spent the money on the thicker wrist pins for the pistons, the whole deal. So that one's already at the machine shop getting all the race prep work done to the block, and then once we get it back, we're going to start assembling that block. So we'll have a video on that one too. So that one's, we're going to be shooting north of 1,000 on that one. It's going to have aftermarket heads. We're shooting for some compression. He's going to run 2 tunes. He'll have an E85 tune with some timing in it. He'll have a 93 tune with timing pulled. We're probably shooting for about 13.5 to 1 compression on that. We're going to shoot for a big roller cam, a Brian Tooley cam. I've already talked to him about speccing something out for us. He's going to run nitrous on that motor. But we're shooting for, it's a 408, high compression, big cam, killer heads. We're shooting for about 700 normally aspirated horsepower, maybe even more, maybe 750. And then with the spray, shooting for 1,000, 1,200 on the spray. So that'll be another one coming up. You guys stay tuned for that. And I didn't really get in on this one. I'm going to shoot you all a peek on this deal here. Okay, so this motor here is one of our shop cars. This is my son's motor. He's got a 93 Fox body that's already got an A50 cert cage in it. It's a street car. It still has full interior, AC, power windows, the whole deal. But it does have an A50 cert cage in it. Had a 331 in that one. And this one here is a Dart Block 363 with AFR heads. Big solid roller camshaft. As you can tell, it ain't no joke. It's got all the good stuff. This one is an 8,500 RPM setup. It makes about 700 normally aspirated horsepower. It's high compression. Big solid roller cam. And he is also he's sponsored by Nitrous Express. And this is this plate setup here is good for 500 horsepower. That plate, they've got one that is actually larger than that. So it's on a progressive system. It's on their controller. They have a complete controller. We'll have to show you his car in the future. It's already set up. The bottles are in the back. It's got twin bottles. It's pretty much all, I think it's called the Maximize 5 is what the system is on that one. It controls the whole deal. So that's going to be fun. We're going to get that thing back together. He still has to get a transmission. We have a G-Force T5 that was in it on his 331 that handles about 600. Straight cut gears, the whole deal. But you know, that's just not going to handle what this one's going to throw at it, because he's on the spray. He's going to be pushing over 1,000. So he still kind of deciding which transmission to go with on that. It's going to definitely be a stick shift car. So stay tuned for that, and we'll have a little bit on that one too as we get going. So we got a lot of stuff going on, man. I'm going to try to get some video footage out here on this channel. We've got this right here is a Vortech V3si Kit. It's on a 2008 Mustang Bullet. It's a garage car, man. This thing is brand spanking new. It's beautiful, and it's all original. So he's bringing that one in a couple weeks. We are doing that supercharger kit. We're doing a Wellwood brake kit, front and back. That is the back ones. There's the hoses, the cables for the back brakes. The front brakes will be here tomorrow. It's the 6-piston caliper front, rotors, pads, 4-piston calipers back, rotors, pads. And he also has he bought a set of brand new 20-inch wheels and tires to go with it. The car is going to be sweet. He's all excited about that deal. And then we have another Bullet coming in with a V3si supercharger kit, Vortech. That one's actually a 2019 or 2020. I can't remember. I think it's a brand new one. He bought it brand new, him and his wife. And we already got all the parts. So we're probably going to do both of them together. I think we're going to do a little video on that. We're going to do both of them cars at the same time. That'd be kind of cool. Have a brand new Bullet, putting a V3si on, and a 2008 Bullet. And they're both the same color, green. So y'all got to stay tuned for that. That's going to be pretty cool. So anyway, I'm going to cut it off here, walk around with this bag in my hand. You know, I got to cover up these motors. So you guys, I appreciate y'all tuning in to the channel. And please like, subscribe, share. You know what to do. Do all that good stuff, right? Also, you guys can check us out on Facebook, Savage Performance. Like I say, we got a good Facebook page. I try to post stuff as much as I can. I used to post stuff almost every day, but we're so busy, man. I just don't post enough. But there's a lot of stuff on there. Y'all check us out on Facebook, Savage Performance. All right, appreciate it. We'll catch you guys on the next video. Y'all have a good night, and we'll catch you on the next one.